Welcome, viewers, to the Smash News Network Least Busted Name and News. Today, I'm preparing, cooking, and then, like a living rocket, but not going uphill today. Got to put on the bulldog. Shout out to Kimberly. Kimberly Fremunda. Kimberly lives in the land Fremunda. And if you don't know what Fremunda is, hopefully doom is not creeping up from under you. All right, so yeah, today we are cooking and chatting because you got to have priorities, right? So yeah, priorities. I've got them. And that's what I'm talking about. So we may talk about space weather, Earth weather, who knows? Who knows? These are all things that we could discuss on today's stream. But it stands to reason that I will respond to your comments. So if you leave one, then we may talk about whatever you've brought up. All right, so there we go. Now we've got the bulldog in place, aligned correctly. No backwards bulldogs of retreat. So incidentally, I am a bulldog, having attended Northern Lehigh Senior High School. It makes me a bulldog. You know, it's the high school mascot. I'm also a golden bear, so I think we're still called the Golden Bears at Kutztown University. So yes, I'm a golden bear and a bulldog in terms of academic affiliations. All right, so we may talk space weather and Earth weather. There's some interesting stuff happening at Australia. Yeah, at Australia. So, and when I say interesting, I mean hurricane-like rains. So that's always interesting, to say the least. So we may have to bring something up about that. Yeah. So I got to cook some food because I got to ride some bike. I'm going to do about 25 miles today, and it'll be chill. It'll be chill. So I'll do very little in the way of hiking and going around on foot, and a little dose of some cycling. I'll share with you what I'm cooking. How about that? I'll tell you what my riding food is. So that's not something you see every day on the YouTube channel, but today, thou shalt. Thou shalt see what I am cooking. It will consist of a lot of protein and a lot of carbohydrate. I see a comment there. I'll get to that in a minute. I'm in the process of filling up some water. I can't really look away because it could lead to disaster. I'm just making the water for the oatmeal, you see. And of course, using filtered water for that, we'll just boil some in the teapot on the gas stove. Gas stoves are the best. I mean, oh my gosh. I don't know how I ever survived with an electric stove, which is what we had until we moved here. And oh my gosh, gas is the thing, folks. It's so freaking good. I mean, so efficient, so inexpensive, and so good at cooking your food. I mean, it's epic. So yeah, making some oatmeal today. I'm just going to make the basic stuff. I'm not going to worry about the crazy organic blend. I'm just going to make regular old everyday oats out of the big can of oats. But I will be adding things, and those additions are really what make it proper riding food. So it's not just the carbohydrates. There's a lot more that goes into it than just the carbohydrates. As, of course, I'm sort of on a training cycle all the time. As you could call me an elite athlete at the things that I do. Can you shout out my brother? Hey, happy birthday to Gabe Owners. Gay Boners, I imagine, is well done at Nag the YouTuber. Big fan from India says Aline underscore A. Well done. And thanks for tuning in and leaving a nice comment. Ali Akbar Begi 2909 says, "What's up, white man? What's up, whatever color man you are?" Yeah, thanks. I'm a collector. I collect military camouflage. So, Tricolor Desert is a crucial kit. So, and of course, it's always good to wear camouflage as a pedestrian. So when you're walking out on the roads, people don't generally want to run folks over who wear full camo outfits. Of course, I do put on visibility stuff because I don't want to be invisible to cars. But yeah, I'm a collector. And my upcoming acquisitions include some Chinese and Russian camouflage. Yeah, I need some Spetsnaz camo and maybe one of the Chinese woodland-esque colors. Yeah, how can you collect it if you can't see it? Exactly. We can tell where our kits are located because that's the part of the room that's invisible. So yeah, you can just see through to the outside. Wherever you put this, you're just like, what? How come I can see the outside? It's crazy. But yeah, whatever has the camo on is invisible. So, I mean, right now, I guess I just look like the bust of a hoodie with a floating face. Pretty weird. Sorry if I creeped you out there, folks. Exactly. How can you collect it if you can't see it? That is one to grow on, folks. All right. So, I don't remember how to make oats. What about you? I forget. I got to read the instructions. That's how much I've been slacking. I've been slacking hard, folks. Just kidding. I'm not really slacking. But, all right. Half a cup of oats is 1 cup of water. Well, that's pretty easy to remember. The same ratio as rice. So yeah, that's the main carbs for my 25 miler is just the oatmeal. I mean, it's pretty good. It's nothing special. But when you add some things to the oatmeal, you make it a lot better. So, and I'm going to show you every one of those additions now. All right. So I'm going to put this in ahead of time before the water is even done boiling. Yeah. So here, yeah, no MREs. That's right. No MREs. Shout out to Steve1989 at mreinfo.com. That's one of my favorite YouTube channels. Check out his videos. We just watched one a couple days ago where he ate some portions of rations, including all of the biscuits out of some rations from 1943, 1944, something like that. So, yeah, he got some incredible looking non-filter cigarettes that he smokes. And, you know, cigarettes from 1940 aren't the same as yeah, that's a nice hiss. Exactly. Yes. Yes. Psst. Put it on the let's get this stuff on a tray. Nice. Yeah, Steve's the best. He actually enjoyed some of our music. He said he liked Blacksmith, one of the tracks from Golden Cat Productions. You can find that music label all over Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. Golden Cat Productions, that's our record label. Since about 2000, we've been around about 25 years, 26 years, something like that. So yeah, just doing the oatmeal, and here are the additions to the oatmeal, folks. Very simple stuff here. So I've got some really kick-ass Spanish extra virgin olive oil. We're going to add a healthy pour of that. You know, it amounts to about less than an ounce, maybe a half ounce, an ounce, something like that. And then we're going to add some kosher salt. And because I haven't been taking my morning chugs with the normal stuff, I'm going to add some cayenne pepper. Give it a little bit of a bite. And here's the best part. We're going to put 2 different sweets on there. We're going to use, no, we're going to, let's see, do I want to use apple butter? No, I want to use apricot. So I'm going to put 2 different sweet things in my oatmeal, and I'm going to share with you what I put in my bottles that are going to go on the bike as well. All right, so you know these are not the normal things we talk about on the channel. And by the way, the protein part, it's just going to be 3 eggs, 3 fried eggs with the whites solid and the yolks liquid. So yeah, we're just putting on some apricot preserves and some maple syrup. So very simple: salt, cayenne, olive oil, fruit spread, and maple syrup. And not a whole ton of it, just enough to sweeten it up a little bit because oatmeal is bland. So yeah, that's what goes in the oatmeal. My water is almost boiled, and beyond that, I'm just frying 3 eggs. I mean, there's no reason to show anybody that, right? I also have some cabbage and iceberg salad that I'm going to eat just to sort of get rid of it. And because, you know, cabbage is killer. Cabbage is super good for you. If you eat kimchi and sauerkraut and coleslaw and things like that, more power to you. You definitely should. You know, cabbage is extremely valuable vegetable to have laying around. So yeah, highly recommend the cabbage. Hopefully you're spending your cabbage on the cabbage because it's pretty cheap too. Most people can afford some. This is why you find it in so many recipes. I know everybody's having issues with grocery prices right now. I certainly am. Fortunately, in the Lehigh Valley, we are insulated from some of that. For example, with eggs. I mean, eggs are not expensive in the Lehigh Valley particularly. We don't see the same price inflation here with all ag products. You know, because this is a huge poultry area here. Not just chickens, but also turkeys and other types of, you know, you can get duck eggs and goose eggs and quail eggs, and it's pretty, this is a pretty rich zone for poultry products. So, you know, we don't see quite as much price inflation for chicken and things, which is nice. I mean, I don't really care. Like, protein sources to me are just protein sources. It doesn't really matter what they are as much as how they're prepared. All right, the water's done. So yeah, now I'm just gonna add a cup of water to my oatmeal mixture, and breakfast is done besides cooking the eggs. So we already drank coffee. You know, Christy, aka Smash Staff, she starts work at about 6:30, and fortunately she lives very close. She works very close to home, so you know, I'd walk her to work. She's only working 12 and a half hours today. That sounds fun, right? Yeah, perfect. Just a 12 and a half hour day. I'm like, what? What do you mean you're not getting off till 7:30 or whatever? So yeah, she's in for it, and she's a preschool teacher, so she gets to deal with kids anywhere, depending on who's called off work today. She gets to deal with kids anywhere from the ages of just born up to maybe 5 or 6, depending on what time of year. And better her than me. Better her than me. No, kids are great. And she's got a lot of experience there, so it's a perfect position for her, especially with it being in such close proximity to her residence. It works out very well. So yeah, I'm just making my eggs here, and then I'll talk space weather and earth weather. We'll talk about some of the interesting stuff going on around Australia, as there are some areas that are going to see several inches of rain here. I think it's something like 6 inches, but don't quote me on that. I haven't run a model yet with the US units on it. I only ran a model in millimeters, but it's 50 millimeters, so it's not that much. And most of the rain's going to harmlessly fall in the Coral Sea, I believe she said it's called. The Coral Sea is going to receive a lot of precipitation, but for the most part, Australia is not going to get too much, but there will be areas that get really hit, mainly the coastal regions, and we'll show you where in a minute. But I'm just going to set a timer here and let my oatmeal solidify while I talk to you rubes and you space weather nerds. So thanks for tuning in, everybody who has. Get some in. Oh, I got to make my water bottles too. So I'll make my water bottles first. I won't eat on camera today. That's not so fun. But yeah, I'll share with you what's going in the water bottles as well. Now, I'm not sure which bike I'm going to ride yet. I may ride my gravel rig, which is right here. It's a cross-country mountain bike converted to. It has smooth tires, aero bars, cargo rack, massive toolbox. Yeah, it's loaded for bear. So, I mean, I've got a number of other bikes. I could use a time trial bike or a couple of road bikes. I could even ride this single speed on the ride I'm going to do. This single speed bike would work fine for it as well. But we're going to leave that at home. I think I'm just going to ride the gravel bike because it's all ready to go. This thing is so good to go. It doesn't even need pressure in the tires. This thing was doing cargo yesterday, so it is, to say it's bomb proof is an insult to bombs and proof, because that bike will kick your ass, take your name, get crashed off of a cliff, come back home on its own and say some dummy was riding me, and I'll be like, sorry about that. That bike has an ego and a will. And yeah, maybe I'm giving it too much credit, but that's my first race bike, so it's a little on the special side. It's the first bike I ever owned that every morning I would wake up and be like, how is it that good? If you've never owned a really nice bike, folks, I'm not saying now's the time to get one, but if you can afford a nice bike, you might not have any idea how nice a bike can get until you own a nice. That, most bikes out there, they cost like $100, and they're okay. All bikes are great. Christie's bike's fine. Here's Christie's Mercier. It's okay. It's a low-end road bike. This thing costs you about $300. But yeah, if you spend like $500, $600, $700, $800 or $1,000 on a bike, what you get out of that bike is freaking bonkers. The amount of maintenance required versus how good it is, how good it works, how fast it is, how efficient it is. Because keep in mind, folks, the bicycle remains the most efficient means ever devised to transport humans. So, they're very efficient. Obviously, taking your 5,000-pound car or even your 2,000-pound car down to the corner store, or driving a vehicle like that a mile to work or something, is a little crazy. You think about the amount of energy that you're using versus the amount required. Now, some are going to say, oh, but a motorcycle is pretty efficient. Yeah, it is, just not quite as efficient as a bicycle, because you're a more efficient engine. Now, you can make the argument that because food is so freaking expensive, that it's actually cheaper to drive or use a motorcycle or something, because of gas prices. And yeah, you're right. Like, for real. I had a teammate who did this one time. He was one of the top track cyclists in the area at the time, Scott Farmer, and he was riding his bike to work. I think it was like 14 miles each way, which is a good training ride for a pro racer. And he figured out that it's actually much more cost effective to drive to work, because he's not going to eat crappy food. He's not going to eat like the cheapest protein that he can get, because he's going to the world championships and things. So at the time, this was the early 2000s, and he figured out that it's less efficient in terms of output of dollars to ride his bike to work. And keep in mind that is a long ride too. So 14 miles to work, 14 miles back. That's pretty much mileage. The area that he lives is very hilly. He lives near Easton, Pennsylvania, if I recall. And that's not exactly an easy area to ride that much mileage, because you're right in the Delaware River Valley there. So it's rocky. Pennsylvania's rocky. So there are lots of hills. All right, eggs are done and everything's done here. I'm just going to show you what goes in my water bottles. You may be shocked and appalled when you find out what it is. And let me get to your comments here. I see a number of them have come in. And so, yeah, I'll get to them in a minute. Just bear with me. I got to get my ingredients. Most of them are right here. BRB. So, yeah, first of all, the first ingredient is filtered water. Yeah, not regular tap water. Filtered water. We use a reverse osmosis filter. It's a device called a water drop, which is a really convenient portable thing that you just kind of put next to your sink, and you just fill it up with your sink faucet. It'll use any tap water, so you can take this camping with you and use like hose water. Any municipal water source will work with this thing. It lasts about 3 months. I think the filters cost about $25, and the total system is about $50. So it's pretty good. It's acceptable. When we leave here soon, hopefully in 2026, we will get a real sink unit reverse osmosis system. But we'll still keep the water drop because it's very convenient. It's got a little handle on it and stuff. Here, I'll show you. Here's the water drop. You see, it's got this big old handle on it. You just plugs into the USB, and yeah, it's fantastic. It gets most of the things that you want out of the water. And yeah, so we have very, very hard water here. So, if I owned this condo, I would definitely get a water softener, because hard water buildups are bullshit. They destroy your fixtures. And hard water is not acceptable. I mean, we would use it to fill the aquariums, because the fish need the minerals, but we don't really want the minerals in our recipes or in our coffee. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, you may be appalled to find out what goes into the water bottles, so here it goes. Oh, I got some ingredients yet. Hold on. Concentrated lemon juice and concentrated lime juice. I just keep them in the fridge. It's just a flavorant. It doesn't really add anything to the performance of the water bottles. But the water bottles do contain nutrition. So here's the homemade energy drink that you may want to know about. I mean, I use this all summer, all winter, all the time. It works perfectly. It's been more than tested and approved over thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of miles in all conditions. So very simple, half a teaspoon of iodized salt. If you don't like iodized salt, then use kosher salt or whatever the hell kind of salt you want, okay? It doesn't matter. Half a teaspoon in each 24-ounce bottle. Got it? Perfect. The next ingredient is the flavorants. So one gets lemon, one gets lime. When I'm out riding, I'll try and figure out which one's which. How much goes in? It's a splash. You got to add it to taste. I'll show you the pour for the lime juice. Keep in mind this is lime juice concentrate. Yes, it is better to use fresh squeezed home, fresh limes, because the oils in the lime peel are performance enhancing. They contain some sodium citrate and that increases the effective surface area of your stomach. So it basically, what it does is it helps the water absorb more easily. So yeah, it really is a performance enhancing substance. Lime peel, especially, also lemon peel, but lime is sort of the pick. Lime is what you want. So lime, it's got a very oily skin. So, you know, the peel of the lime is too often thrown away and not understood as containing massive nutritional value. Facts. Facts, folks, facts. Now, here's the part that you might find appalling. I'm going to take a basic teaspoon, not a measured teaspoon. This is probably more like a tablespoon in terms of measured amounts. And I'm going to put 4 heaping teaspoons of regular old white table sugar. It's pure sucrose. Now, the optimal blend for your sports drink is 50% glucose and 50% sucrose. This is 100% sucrose, so it is not optimal. If you want to make it optimal, then you put 2 of these spoons of glucose powder in and 2 of these spoons of sucrose powder in. Your basic table sugar, that's sucrose. So, now, you want to know what kind of products I would use for my basic table sugar? I just mean this, okay? This, something like this. It's organic non-GMO sugar. It's only a couple cents more like at Walmart than the regular white sugar. Is it significantly better? It's, who knows? I mean, using brown sugar for your bottles doesn't hurt because it has more flavor as well. And when you're doing aerobic activities for hours and hours and hours at a time, you want to reduce your fatigue. So flavorants count when you're in the field. When you are in the field, flavorants matter. Your comfort matters. These things are actually really important. All right. So if you don't have all of your, if your fingers are real cold or your toes are real cold on your bike ride, you're not going to perform as well. Like your athletic performance in terms of how much power you can put out and stuff like that is going to be lower. All right. You know, you have to have your bike fit correctly. You have to have your saddle at the right height and so forth. There is no substitute for knowledge about a thing. All right. So technical know-how vastly exceeds the importance of your bike. Remember how I was talking about having a nice bike? Well, if your name's Tadej Pogačar, you're one of the top riders in the world, and you jump on a piece of crap bike, guess what? You're still going to be blindingly fast going uphill. All right? I mean, is it going to last where you can like keep up with other guys that would like be Tour de France level riders while you're riding a $100 Walmart bike, even though you're the top dude in the world? Of course not. The marginal gains, they'll start to pay off, okay? And marginal gains, when you apply a ton of them at once, they become maximal gains. I'm going to leave this on my bike today, okay? That makes me a lot less aero. It's also very heavy. The back end of this bike weighs over 40 pounds probably as it's built right now. It's very heavy, but the ride that I'm doing is mostly flat. So there's that. Yeah, so now we have a forecast high of 47 degrees today. So there's a huge melt going on. This will be another issue that we're facing on today's ride because there are a lot of snowbanks that are like in the process of melting. And because of that, there will be some water on the road, but it doesn't look like it's going to really be an issue. So the winds are going to pick up a little bit, and in about 2 hours, it's going to be mostly dry, and that'll be good. That'll be good when it's mostly dry. That's what you want, obviously, to ride road. So, and of course, most of us mountain bike racers don't ride off-road when it's muddy because it just destroys the trails on our bikes, and and our morale. So, yes, dry conditions. Dry conditions are nice. So yeah, that's the ride, food, and drink. I don't think I've ever shared it on the channel before, so feel free to press the share button if you want to tell your friends and foes how to do world-class cycling food. I'm not going to show you the world-class cycling clothes because doing stripteases is not yet part of the YouTube channel's modus operandi. So let's talk space weather and earth weather. We'll go over the facts, and we'll present no pseudoscience or other nonsense about the subject. Shall we? Just kidding, folks. It's the space weather dictatorship here at the Smash News Network. Least busted name in news. So let us know in the comments how many miles you're going to ride today. I'm going to have about 30 on the day. About 30 miles. So leave us a nice comment or a mean comment if you're mad, and tell us how many miles you're going to ride, or walk, or teleport. If you're teleporting, put the mileage, put the mileage you're trying to teleport, and then the mileage, like in the next video, how far, like where you've actually teleported. Did you like succeed, or did you choke? Did you teleport into a solid rock wall? Hopefully not, as I think that would be unhelpful. All right, continuing on. All right, Space Cadets. So, we'll talk space weather here and earth weather a little bit. Let's do the earth weather part first because it's freshest in my pea brain. So first we're looking at a pressure map here, all right? Here's the pressure of the North American continent. This is on nullschool.net. Then we're looking at barometric pressure here. Mean sea level pressure. So this area right here that's about 1,000 hectopascals. Let's take a look at the world from under. Oh, there's a huge anticyclone here. Look, very high pressure here in the North Pacific. Quite cold there. 1,030 hectopascals. Now, let's take a look at the world from under. And you see this low right here. This is a tropical system. So currently the pressure is still about 1,000 millibars, 1,000 hectopascals, as it were. However, that's going to change. I think it's going to build a little bit. If we look at the forecast here, we're going to advance this 8 hours. Another 8 hours, another 8 hours. So that's 1 day. That's 2 days. It's going to kind of barrel toward Australia. And then it's just going to kind of cruise down the coastline based on this forecast. This is the GFS forecast. But anyway, let's just bring this back to now. So there's the current situation for that low. And I just wanted to show a forecast here. Ignore that. I want to show a forecast here for the rain. So let's go to Australia. This is tropicaltidbits.com. By the way, tropicaltidbits.com makes some fantastic forecast models. This one is precip moisture. Total accumulated precip. There you go. And look at the forecast GIF for 72 hours. We use 72-hour forecasts on the channel because those are accurate, at least in most parts of the world. Now, I'm not an Australian forecaster, so keep that in mind. This is so that's 500 millimeters in that very isolated area. So there's going to be some major isolated flooding there, and I know it's hilly, so shout out to Kimberly. There's your GFS forecast. But this area here is going to get plastered too. So 2 different areas, or really 3 different areas, are going to all receive 500 milliliters. Up here, this area, and down here. Whatever those are, I have no freaking idea. I do not know Australian geography. Let's look at some U.S. forecasts while we're here. While we're on total accumulated precip, Here's the US, since it's warm in Pennsylvania. There you go. This is now precip in inches, by the way, because we're looking at a different part of the world. That's where the rain's going to fall. Some heavy rains there in Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. Getting 4 inches in some areas there. And that will cause localized flooding, so be aware of that, hill country residents. Now, next thing we'll cover is the snow forecast. The snow forecast for you space cadets out there. Total accumulated positive snow depth change. There we go. Total positive snow depth change, 72-hour GFS model, and kabow! There it is. So the Rockies are going to get a bunch of snow. The hot air capital of the world, Colorado, is going to get a bunch of snow. Idaho will be plastered. Anyway, there's the map. That is in inches once again. Areas are going to see 4 feet of the white stuff. And this is the meaty part of the winter, so it's when you'd expect. Anyway, let's briefly talk about... Oh, geez. You don't want to know what that is. Let's briefly talk about the world's jet streams as my voice gets shattered. Here are the jet streams of the eastern world, and you can see the jet stream staying south of Australia here. There is a blocking feature. There's an anticyclone here off the coast, which is acting as a blocking feature. That is what is constraining that tropical system in the Coral Sea. So that's why it's going to stagnate. The jet stream will not affect it and move it to the east as most storms do. You can see right there the stagnation. So here are the surface winds. And you can see that those winds there converging on that low. It's not very well shaped yet, but like I said, it's going to build a bit in the coming 48. Here are the surface winds of the central world. Shout out to our viewers from Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. And the Far East. Some strong winds there along the coast of, Asia, Korea, and so on. Mediterranean seeing some strong winds as well. And of course, the North Atlantic is quite treacherous. Anyway, here are the jet streams of the central world. Quite chaotic jet streams in the northern hemisphere. Jet streams of the western world are as shown here. Double jet stream over the US. And there are the surface winds. The world's largest waves right now. Are located in the North Pacific, I think. You got some 27 footers out there. Beyond that, I stand corrected. The Southern Ocean is more treacherous, but similar wave heights. Those are the world's biggest waves. Anyway, once again, there's a forecast, and let's show son of a bit turn. Here's a temperature map for the U.S. Again, we've got a forecast high of 47 degrees Fahrenheit here in Lehigh Valley. All right, we got to cut this thing off, and we're going to just blast through space weather. There's where the precipitation currently is. That is your U.S. Doppler radar map, courtesy of radar.weather.gov. Here's the water vapor map. That'll clear things up. If your Doppler radar is looking unhelpful, you can see this dry band of air here acting like a blocking feature in the US. Anyway, that's your imagery. And when will you stop believing NASA's lies? Click our links and buy some merch like Croissant Earth. Yeah, croissant Earth. What do you believe Earth is shaped like an oblate spheroid or that it's flat or like a snow globe or some shit like that? What the hell are you talking about, dude? Earth is clearly croissant shaped. So stop being an idiot and let's shift to space weather. Space, a frontier. These are the voyages of looking at the closest star, the most interesting one to look at. There it is in ionized helium. And look at, we're having a CME happen while we make the video. So that's always nice. I mean, I'll take it. Look at that. Boom. CME happening right now. A massive filament is erupting. Some of it's probably ejecting, and it's likely to be earthly directed. So expect some auroral activity early in the day on the 10th. Yeah, the 10th of January. You know, January. I speak some languages. Anyway, this is just cosmic ray flux, folks, and you can see we are still at a 24-year low. If some dummies are telling you that energy from space is spookily increasing, if it's before noontime, energy from space is definitely increasing because it's before noontime. Besides that, space energy is definitely not increasing at the moment because we are close to solar maximum. Here's a cosmic ray source. This is actually X-ray frequency, not particles like cosmic rays, but that's Cygnus X3 for the past 20 plus years. And here's the Huxt forecast. Let's see if Huxt has the current CME showing up yet. What do you got, you Redding? Let's press refresh just to make sure we've got the freshest. Maybe not as fresh as Run DMC, but pretty fresh. So at the moment, we don't see that forecasted, but it's coming because the CME, the coronal mass ejection, where a part of the sun's corona is blasted off into space towards Earth, hopefully, like this one that we're watching now, and creates things like mid-latitude aurora visible in places like Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, where we are located. But there you go. There's the Huxt forecast. Look for this to update in a few hours, including another Earth-directed CME. That's called a forecast. Next is the solar wind data, and we're currently looking at 3 days, but we don't want 3 days. We want 1 day. So here is the 1 day observation. Did I say forecast? I apologize. If I said forecast, I meant observation. Current solar wind as measured by ACE and Discover. 365 kilometers per second. That's 365 kilometers per second. And about 2.25 protons per cubic centimeter. That's pretty diffuse and very slow, like solar minimum slow. Next sunspot number, which has recently increased, so that's pretty cool. We must have some new sunspots either rising or forming. Sunspot number currently about 135 sunspots. Is NOAA forecasting any space weather? Well, they certainly aren't yet, but look for that to change, especially when I press refresh and get the correct data. So actually, look at, we are expecting a co-interactive region and a coronal hole high-speed stream. So a CME and a coronal hole high-speed stream there, which together can form a CIR, a co-interacting region. That is when a faster solar wind meets up with a slower solar wind, and they do things in space because they're space plasma. They have their own magnetic fields and electric current and so forth. So there's that. Hopefully, some geomagnetic storms coming both on the 9th and the 10th. So let's see, that would be Thursday into Friday, and Friday into Saturday. Next is a 10.7 centimeter radial flux, which is a proportional data set to sunspot number. This red line is going to come up. This is solon.info, solon.info/solar. 10.7 centimeter radial flux currently at 145 solar flux units. Next is the newly refurbished, oh wait, it's not refurbished. But here are our coronagraphs. We should see some ejecta. Never be a neglecta of the ejecta. I do see your comments, folks. I do see your comments. So don't you worry. We will get to them. That is, if I don't have to get your soul into the river Styx. I mean, we always hope that we don't have to, get people's souls into the river Styx. Hopefully that's not necessary. But you never know. All right, so let us know in the comments what you see in that coronagraph imagery. Do you see an Earth-directed CME? I mean, there should be one. Certainly looks like there is. I gotta say, the data's looking a little funky. I think somebody has to turn a contrast knob or something. But I digress. Moving on to the stereo A coronagraph, which should show an earthly directed CME. You'll see it coming out of the left side of the coronagraph. And so let's play that next. Let's play that instead of with your souls. Remember, folks, when in doubt, have a soul statement on deck. Otherwise, your soul may be cast into an ever-deepening and darkening abyss of cartoon villain statements. All right, so there's a little tiny CME coming out of the west from stereo A there, and another one coming out of sort of the southwest. If it does, I think NOAA might be over forecasting this time because that looks very minor. So, but it is fast moving. So I don't know if they think that the coronal hole high-speed stream is going to catch up to the CME or vice versa, but I don't think it's going to be much. However, the CME that's popping off now could be major. Expect to see a big halo later in today's data. Next, we'll look at where planets are located. I like to use theplanetstoday.com. It's pretty decent. But that's where planets are located. Keep in mind, this is not to scale, and planets are nowhere near each other. They're really far away from each other. It seems to come up regularly when people talk about aspects of space and space weather that they definitely don't understand the physics of. Next is our proton flux, which is at baseline levels, no major solar energetic particle events. At any of the energy levels. Next is our X-ray flux, and as you can see there, it's quite chill indeed. By the way, don't forget to press the like button if you enjoy the content. Tell your friends and foes about us. Don't forget to visit the homepage at smashomash.com, and let me just put that in the chat, which I have finally opened. Yeah, it's on screen, finally. It took long enough, but now I've got it. And let me just put the home page in there. That way you can press share, visit us on social media, tag us in your post and so forth, so that we know who you are and so that we don't think you're one of Elon's engagement bots. Elon's removing the bots. Elon is the bot. Elon Musk has made Twitter even more pathetic than it was under Jack Dorsey, which is pretty pathetic. Yeah, the censorship is higher on Twitter now than it was 5 years ago. There's the X-ray flux. We are at baseline B levels of X-ray flux, or barely at C levels. So keep in mind when at the points where these scales overlap, it's very close, like a B1. I mean, a C1 and a B9 are damn close to the same thing because this is a longitudinal scale. As you can see, this is 10 times stronger than this, which is 10 times stronger than this, which is 10 times stronger than this. Higher flux density is what we're talking about. Next, we'll look at the heliosphere and the magnetism therein. Let's look at yesterday plus today to see any sector boundary crossings. Nope, Earth is just in a South Pole-oriented magnetic sector. And no, coronal holes do not forecast earthquakes. They do dictate the magnetism of the heliosphere. There it is, South Pole oriented. Next, our coronal hole line of sight plot. This is coronal hole. What the heck? We'll show the same period. That is yesterday plus today. That is December 6th and 7th. And there you can see those coronal holes we talked about earlier. Let's take a look at those visually on the goes. The next thing that happens is I goes to the goes and show you the 195 angstroms. So there are the coronal holes that we're talking about. So there they are in terms of their magnetism. You can see North Pole-oriented coronal holes right now, mainly at the South Heliographic Pole. South Pole-oriented coronal holes here, trans-equatorial. So they will definitely provide a high-speed wind in a couple of days. About 2 to 3 days, we're going to see, more like 2 days, we'll see a density increase in the solar wind. then the density will drop off and we'll have a high speed wind for an extended period, probably about 36 to 48 hours for a coronal hole of this size. It is transequatorial, meaning it stretches across the solar equator. Anyway, here they are in 195 angstroms. This is ionized iron in the solar corona. And this does give you a good view of this currently erupting filament, which again is likely to produce an Earth-directed coronal mass ejection. So there it is. Those are the facts. Let's move on to some more data. We'll look at the magnetic fields since we had new sunspots form. Gotta love that, unless you don't. And if you don't, feel free to press the unsubscribe button if you'd prefer not to see the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content. But if you would, you should press the subscribe button because we're the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content. Seems like a no-brainer. It seems like you might be watching no-brainers if you're watching other space weather channels, unless it's Tamitha Skov. Anyway, here's a magnetogram, and check it out. This sunspot group here is looking pretty interesting. The likelihood of solar flares has gone up a little bit. We also may see flares here on this southwestern limb. So here we're looking at, where are we? Cerro Tololo? Perfect. Here's Cerro Tololo in red light. So again, we've got two regions to watch. This region right here, which, oh, it's an equilateral triangle. Oh no, these sunspots must be sponsored by Frito-Lay. Oh, never mind. Doritos are isosceles triangles, so no worries about Frito-Lay, folks. It's probably just the Illuminati. That means 33. And then meanwhile, this group right here has some magnetic complexity. So this can flare, these can flare. Either one is fairly likely to produce M-class events, but beyond that, not likely because we don't see any flaring yet. Next, filaments. And still sticking with Cerro Tololo, I see. All right, perfect. The hydrogen alpha imagery shows solar plasma filaments. I will get to your comments here. I see there are a bunch of comments. And we're going to have to be brief because I am running out of time rapidly. In fact, I need to start changing while I make this video. So, but sad to say, folks, no strip teases. You're not going to see anything juicy today on the channel. Anyway, you can see these absorption features are major. You can see this instability happening here, and there is a huge flux rope that could erupt right here. That filament is definitely name-worthy. In fact, we're going to call that the Sara-Housial filament. That is officially the Sara-Housial filament. Let's briefly name that here. We're going to even save that file because we're going to show you how to name a solar filament. So the first thing you do is you open a new tab and you type in twitter.com. You know, the name of Twitter, it's called Twitter. So we just call it Twitter. Then you're going to paste the thing. Okay. Twitter. It almost functions. I'm sorry. I've got to do a thing first. So what you want to do is, when you want to name a plasma filament after your friends, your foes, or yourself, is edit the image. Okay? Edit the image. So I'm just using, you know, this Microsloth thing. And what I'm going to do is put an arrow, because she's a brand new solar scientist, a space weather scientist, Sara-Housial. You should follow her on Twitter. She is awesome. She talks about actual science about space weather. Anyway, and we'll tag her on this tweet. because we want to name filaments after living people. Just give it a half hour and it'll display the image, and be able to, function as software. Don't just, oh, never mind. We've been disconnected from the internet. So I guess I won't be sharing shit and I'll be ending this video early, because this browser just sucks. It'll remain unnamed, but that's how you name a filament. Oh, wait, are we back? No, we're not back. The internet is still down on this desktop machine. So anyway, we're just going to end this stream since the device still works. That's a good place to end it anyway, since we have an Earth-directed CME and I'm in a hurry. So that's where we'll close this thing out. Thanks for tuning in. Those of you who have, congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Don't forget to press the things, especially share, since YouTube does a crap job of sharing our content, even though it's the world's most comprehensive daily space weather videos. And yeah, that's where it ends, because the internet. No, but seriously, I do have to go. And yeah, we'll see you soon here at the Smash News Network. Least busted name of news. I've been your host, Dan, aka Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And when it arrives, may that solar wind be at your back. It's coming. It's coming.